Right, so now let's, we haven't done this yet, but let's save some stuff to disk. So we need to track back a little bit now and explain a little bit about some different contexts that Houdini uses. Right, so I'm gonna go away from the Coral for now for a little bit to just explain different stuff for caching inside of Houdini. Maybe you can still do it inside of here. So in Houdini you have different ways of pointing to stuff on disk. So if I make a file node, it's a file. So a file node is used to load in stuff. So you can point this to a location to load something in. You see by default it goes to $hip here. So let's type $hip. And a lot of stuff in Houdini you use dollar and then you type something after it, and then that will evaluate to a location. So if I middle mouse now on this, you will see this will evaluate to this location on my drive. So, and that's the location where my hip file, so my Houdini file, is saved. So $hip points to the Houdini file. So there's another thing called $job, and that's basically your project directory. So, and I can set that anywhere. I highly suggest you look at so after you finish watching this part, I highly suggest you check out this tutorial that I made. It's on my website, timvanhelsing.com. You can watch this for free. It's called VFX folder structure. And there I'm showing my VFX folder structure and some presets that I use to do some caching. So I'm not going to go into that too much in this video. I will touch upon it, but I recommend you watch this. I will put the link in the description. If you're watching this on timvanhelsing.com, it will also be there beneath this video. But make sure to watch this so you understand that. But anyway, so $job is like, if I say you can go to, so with $hip, we're pointing to the hip location. But with $job, we can give that a location. So if I go to File, Set Project. So $job will basically be the location of your project. So let's say if I just do it to a random folder, like just my HDRI folder, just as an example. So I'm gonna go there. Let's select this one, HDRI Skydowns. If I now type $job in my middle mouse, you can see it will point to that location. So this will mean that even if you move hip file somewhere else, if $job is, for example, pointed to a certain part on your server or on disk, this will remain constant. On the VFX folder structure tutorial that I did, I highly recommend again that you watch. I'm also going over how to make some custom things, so like $project and stuff like that, so you have more control over where do you want to put stuff. But this is also useful if we want to cache stuff. So for now, I'm going to put my $job to my $hip location. So that's going to just be over here, just going to be Coral. So select the folder. And then if I put $job, you can see it's going to evaluate to the same location as my $hip. All right. So this is going to be used if we're going to write out caches for our Coral. Because when we're going to render this later, we kind of want to have them cached to disk. Because first, we don't want to keep generating everything at render time. Because sometimes you might do some stuff that might take a very long time to generate. Like you already might have noticed that VDBs can be quite heavy. And like sometimes it just makes more sense to save it out once, and then it will be on disk. And then when you load it from disk, it will be a lot faster. And with this Coral, what we're actually going to do is we're going to save a whole bunch of Coral to disk, maybe even more than we're going to end up using. And then we're going to pick randomly from those disk files to scatter them across the ground later. So that's how that's going to work. But let's just show how a cache would work. So you have a whole bunch of things you can use in Houdini to cache. So let's first just put down a file cache. So that's just a note, and my interface looks different than yours does, probably. So yours, I'm not gonna reset to factory, but yours doesn't have this top thing. So I'm just gonna pretend like, okay, so that like this. So this is what I use to set some stuff. Again, I am explaining more in this video. But what this will do basically is, let's just remove this geometry file stuff that's there, because by default for you it will probably be, I don't remember what they put it to exactly, but it will have something over there. So there's certain stuff we can use there. So this is gonna be the file path where we want to save something out. So let's save this out manually. Let's save out parkour. So where do we want to save it out? Well, again, you generally want to use stuff like $job, for example. So if we put it to $job right now, if you set your $job, this will be the location where your hip file is saved. And then we want to say that we want this to be in a certain, so maybe geo. So this will create, if the folder is not there, it doesn't matter, it will create it. And let's make a folder called Coral, or let's make it Coral tutorial for now. Right, and then I'm going to type Coral, and then maybe this will be our first version of our Coral. So let's do, and then do another underscore, and then we're gonna type a extension. So like if you've done 3D for a longer time, you know, like of extensions like .abc for Alembic or .obj. Well, Houdini has its own extension called BGO, and the BGO file format supports everything that Houdini does. And if you're gonna remain inside of Houdini, so if you're gonna keep working in Houdini, BGO is just the best to use. Also for just intermediate caches and stuff, just use BGOs. So there's two different ones. You have BGO, that's the normal one, and you have BGO.sc, which is the compressed one, which you almost always use. So it just compresses it in the slider. It takes a little bit, well, it's a little bit slower to load if it's on the CPU, but if it's going to be very heavy caches, then it's going to make up for it for, well, not having to load the entire heavy file from disk. So it kind of depends also on how fast your storage is. So you have .bgo or .bgo.sc. So let's put this in between. You can also use export other formats. You can also use this to OPJ. You don't want to export Alembic with this, so you have ROP Alembic output for that. So that's a whole different thing. We're not going to do that for now. In this tutorial, we're always going to use bgo.sc. So that's how you export just a single file. So if we set this to save current frame, it's going to save the current frame. So if we now press save to disk and we open up this file browser, you can see coral_1.bgo.sc, and it's 762 kilobytes. So if we now go to like a file node, we can go over here and we can load it back in. So now this one is loaded from disk. So what you could also do is, for example, channel reference. So if I just copy parameter, paste relative references, now this one will always load this file. So even if I make this a version 2, so now it errors because it's not saved out, but now I put save to disk, and then reload, you can see it's back, because now it's going to be 2 versions. So let's say I want to export something animated. What I would do is I would put, instead of just bgo.sc, I put another extension. I would put underscore, and I would put $f4 or just $f. So what this will do is, if I use $f, it means the frame, and 4 will mean that it will add a padding of 4. So it will be, first frame will be 0001, and then 0002, 0003. Let's just test this out. Let's put a transform. let's have this rotate. So this is rotating. And let's just save this out. Let's just first do it without padding. Let's save out a couple of frames. Let's do 50 frames. Save the disk. So you can also see the file cache also has a disk. So by default, this will not. If I now put this to load from disk, you see it will error because we're after frame 50, but before it's going to load this from disk. If I go in here, select this, and go in here, you can see it's loading it from disk. And now this file sequence is looking as just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Generally, it's better to just use padding because if you don't use padding, in like some like over here it's fine, like with 10, 20, whatever. But some file explorer then put like 10 like after 1, and so it will just be, if you use padding, that won't happen. So if I just type $F4 and now save it, let's go in here. So show sequence as one entry. So this is the $F4 one. So you can see 0002, 0003, and it can just load it like you want. So with these presets that I use over here, which I highly recommend you. So I'm going to be using these presets from now on if I cache stuff. So download this. So the download for the presets are available for patrons. So if you support a Patreon for this course, you can also download this. So then you have all of these presets. So if I type file cache now, and let's remove the transform, you can see this has a whole bunch of presets already. So folder name $F4. So it's just easier. So, and also, so then I can, like if I want to version up, I just have to increase the slider. So there's less, well, it's less prone for erroring. So you can also have ROP output geometry. So that's just, you can put it like this, and then you can save it out like that. So it's just a separate node that doesn't have any extra connections to it. But for this wedging, we're going to save it out in even way, which I'm going to get into now.